To you, Miss Carmen Carr, Reaching for the Sky, Carmen Carr.
1946, Germany. The Second World War had come to an end. Yet, the pain, the grief, and the suffering it had caused so many had no end in sight. The soldier knocked on her door to hand her the dreaded letter. He said, "I'm sorry." She did not need to open the letter. She did not want to open the letter. She did not want to read the very sad words that this letter had. Instead, she wanted to cry, she wanted to scream, she wanted to give up. There was no time for tears or contemplation. There were 3 young children that needed her more than anything. One single tear snuck down her cheek. She took the corner of her apron and stopped the rest of the tears that wanted to follow. With that single gesture, she stopped expressing emotions and the excruciating pain that she was feeling in her heart from losing her loved one. It was her strength and her determination that carried her through every single day to raise those young children to become grown adults. It wasn't always easy, but she never gave up. She reached for the sky. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, we all are faced with challenging, heart-wrenching, scary circumstances in our lives where we're called on to move through and even sometimes contemplate giving up. It is not for us to judge somebody else's pain. Instead, it is for us to encourage each other with encouraging words. Don't give up. You can do it. I believe in you. We do not know what goes on inside of someone. On the outside, it may appear as pure joy and contentment. On the inside, deep inner turmoil. As a little girl growing up in Germany, my most favorite childhood memories were staying at my grandmother's house for summer vacations. My grandmother, a very simple lady, and she rode her bike everywhere, and she taught me a lot. Every summer afternoon, she would place me on the back of a bicycle, no helmets, no seat belts, and off we rode into the park to the playground. I built many sand formations and sand castles in the sandbox. Gosh, this is very distracting. In the sandbox, enjoying the summer breeze. Out of the corner of my eyes, I would always admire the kids back by the slide, climbing up the tall ladder and sliding down, expressing their pure joy and excitement. I experienced this inner tug of war going on between the fear of climbing that tall ladder and longing for the joy and excitement sliding down the slide. This one afternoon, courage filled me as I found myself at the bottom of the ladder. The top, so much closer to the sky than I'd ever imagined. How was I ever going to make it? Finally, brave enough to take that first step, I put my hand onto the metal bar and put my foot onto the bottom rung, and I froze. The kids behind me were getting rather impatient, waiting their turn. How was I going to make it? Seconds seemed like hours. As all of a sudden, I heard my grandmother's voice by my side saying, "Carmen, you can do it. One step at a time. Don't give up. It was her encouraging words that carried me up the ladder, one rung at a time, until I finally reached the top, so much closer to the sky than I'd ever been. I placed myself onto that metal plank and I let go, sliding down that slide, expressing my joy and excitement. And let me tell you, it was so worth it. The inner joy, the sense of accomplishment I felt inside was so worth it. Because I didn't give up. Throughout our lives, my grandmother and I, we shared many more opportunities where she shared her wisdom with me and her encouraging words that I can still hear to this day. Don't give up. Reach for the sky. September 1998, my aunt called to share with me that my grandmother had taken her last breath. Had she reached the sky? At that moment, I was able to imagine what it must have felt like for my grandmother when the soldier knocked on her door and handed her the dreaded letter stating that my grandfather was not coming home. It was her encouraging words that carried me through my grief of losing one of the most inspirational women in my life. She's with me everywhere I go. Matter of fact, she's right here, right now. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. We all face adversities throughout our lives, throughout our days. I encourage you the way my grandmother encouraged me. Don't give up. Reach for the sky, Mr. Toastmaster.